Ladies and gentlemen, and now big hands, Ajay Garg, please be there.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I hope you can hear me, and thank you, Seppo, very much for saying kind words about me. I don't know if I have really good experience, but I feel I'm just beginning to start my experience now when I started my own company. And that's what I'm going to talk about, how it has evolved so far as a person, what I'm able to do, what I'm able to learn from it. And I feel like every day is a new learning experience. And so let's start a little bit with my background. I was not sure how many people will be there. I was told in the beginning there will be like 400 people, and I have to speak so much about different things, and I was a bit nervous. So excuse me if I make some mistakes, and please feel free to ask questions now or later. I don't mind. And what I mean by real work experience, it doesn't mean that I have not worked before, but when you start your own venture or when you're doing something for yourself in the first time in your life, then you feel like you're really putting in your soul into it. I mean, most of you are quite young and probably some of you already have worked for a while, or even entrepreneurs who have started the company. So some of you might relate to it, that what it means by a real experience. Because then you are saying that this is something you don't want to fail. This is your baby. This is something you want to make it grow. And not to take too much of your time now, I give a little bit about my background. I mean, I'm an ordinary person from India out of 1.21 billion people today, born in a middle-class family near Delhi somewhere, about 100 kilometers from Delhi. So I one of those people you see. Then schooling system, and most of you actually have come from a very good schooling system here in Finland or Latvia or other countries, I must say. Because the schools in India, especially the government schools, even today are quite crowded, very lack of facilities. However, you don't have a choice because, I mean, you are part of the system. So you need to work hard. As you can see in some of the situations when my father was working he's a civil engineer by profession, so he was working for the government. That was the kind of the thing for most of the people to work during that time, work for the government and get the best jobs. He was posted in many small towns in India, many places where the only thing, the best thing was electricity and water, nothing more than that, a simple housing, a basic school. So we went to those kind of schools. And sometimes because of the government, these people who moved in, they provided more benches. Otherwise, there were not even benches there. So I had those situations, but I had great experience. I really enjoyed working, studying with people from villages. The guys who were actually helping their father in the morning or helping their mother to do things in the night. And during the daytime, they were coming to school. And that was very inspiring that we were quite a bit well off in that sense. And those people, I mean, they are my kind of real heroes, that they had the motivation to come to school, work with their parents, help their family. And you can see some of them here, actually. It was a good experience, and sort of, the average student in a class in India, as you can imagine, is not small, like 80, sometimes even 90 or 100 people. So getting the attention is the thing. And this, I think, has helped me also. How do you get the attention? How do you get noticed? By being better, by being outspoken maybe, by being different. And I'm going to talk about how you can be different even if you are what you are. What else? Let's see, so yeah, one thing in India is great. It was a bit of a socialist system in the beginning, we learned a lot from Soviet Union. However, I think we didn't continue with that, and that's another story to talk about. Universities in India had a great foundation, a lot of very important, very big universities, and one of them is probably some of you might have heard called IIT. And that's when the most kind of students they want to go to. Example, I think there's TUT here or similar universities. I'm not very well aware about how it's in Finland. So it's one of the good universities in India to go, and everybody say, hey, if I want to be an engineer, if I want to be a doctor, for doctors there's a different one. I want to go to these universities. But as you can imagine, the competition is tough. So 2 million people, at that time when I was applying in I think it was 1990, actually 1988, so I almost forgot the dates. So 1998, when I applied to those universities, was very, very tough competition, and it's even tougher now. And luckily, first time I failed. They have, like, it just doesn't work, They gave me the rank saying, you are just missing like 100, 200 positions. So I was very determined. I say, hey, I know I can make it. I'm almost there. Let's go and give it a try. And that's where I learned my first failure in life. It's very important that you learn some lesson from your failures. And what I learned from my failure is actually I was not focused enough, and I was not sort of deeply motivated to get in, though I wanted to get in, but I was not putting in enough energy to really get in. And then you can't get in because you are not the best. I had to work on it. It took me another 6 months to prepare for it, to understand how, there's always a way you can figure out. If you work hard and if you work the smart way, you can figure it out by going forward. I got a little bit lucky also with a little bit of hard work. We were able to get in then. So that's the story. And once you go to this kind of college, the opportunity opens up in a very different way. Big companies kind of come to these campuses to recruit people. I was also got lucky that I was recruited by the company, some brand name called Tata. Some of you might know. They have several like IT companies. So one of them in Bangalore, they said, hey, would you like to come as join an engineer and work for Tata Group? And I was like very excited, working in the Silicon Valley of India. I mean, today it's much more known, but back in 1995, when I was joining, people didn't know as the Silicon Valley of India. It was just a great place to work, excellent weather, because that's what I think they were trying to sell. Like, hey, in Bangalore we have a better weather than in Delhi, so why don't you move to Bangalore? So I think those days, it was a bit different. Now everybody knows Bangalore, and it's a different story. But those days they were saying, hey, and there were not that many companies in the north of India, which is Delhi, where I grew up and I did my study. So I was already attracted by the fact that, hey, I have a chance to go a bit far from my parents and travel back and forth and get this kind of freedom of my life, which I think you guys get here quite early. So I grabbed the opportunity. I said, let's do something. Let's work for a company which is a bit more bigger area, different area. And some of you probably know India. India is not like a country by itself. India is like Europe. So if you go to one state, it's like traveling from Latvia to Estonia, or Estonia to other countries. And they are all different, though they are so close to each other. So you need to sort of learn the cultural things. You need to understand the language. Today we have only 18 official languages in India. It used to be 26 at one point of time. So I think that's another challenge, which sometimes seems like one country, but at the end of the day, you feel like, oh, how am I going to talk to somebody in Kannada, or how am I going to talk to somebody in Telugu? And they don't know, and the end of being the common language being English. And that's something I think Indians inherited from British, and which has definitely helped us to grow in the international community and to experiment things. So nonetheless, so that was the story. I went to work in Bangalore. I started my career there. Then, hey, how do you live there? I have no idea. Then there were a few other students from my class say, let's join some gang. We rented a big place with 3-bedroom house, and we started to live there. And then started to work. I bought a motorcycle. Okay, that was my first thing I could buy in my life myself with my own money. So far, actually, in India, here it's a bit different again. In India, parents give you all the money till you finish your education. So kind of you are not burdened by, mostly not burdened by the worry that you have to make your own money. So we are a bit lucky in that sense that they support you till you are able to make your own living, the first living. So I got this place to live there and work with the friends, but then we were sort of starting to think about it. And there was one guy, his brother was working in US. And he said, this is great. He's making so much money. Of course, young out of college, 21, 22 years old, I had no idea what the world looked like and how things are beyond my college, which some 2,000 students, plus a lot of them were talking about doing this GMAT, GRE, and these things. I was just thinking, I just wanted to be a good engineer. That's all. Somebody would hire me, I would get some income, eventually I would have a good life, and that's all I dreamt at that point of time. But when I went to Bangalore, it completely changed my life. people are talking about going international. IBM moved in, actually. So actually, I got my first project working for IBM already that time. It was a project for IBM labs in Raleigh. And I started to interact with these American people on the other side of the work. So we had sort of meetings sometimes late in the evening or night. And then I began to understand how this whole world is working of IT or software. You know, there are people who are companies like IBM and others, they are making software and hardware in different parts of the world. So this whole puzzle started to kind of fit together, that we are a very small part in this puzzle. They are giving us this project to do the software. We put in the software, they sell it. So I basically started to learn the ropes, how the business of software is working, how the whole industry started to work. And that's something they don't teach you in engineering, at least in India. Maybe here, I think they might teach you better. In India, the engineering, it means you just learn about engineering. You learn about how to code, how to program, how to design hardwares, how to design different kinds of software. So we started to talk a lot about different kinds of companies in the world, how they're doing. And actually, luckily enough, some of my friends got in, actually. So I was working with two different, we had a team of 17 people, if I remember correctly, 17 or 18 people working these projects. And we were working on a very cutting-edge technology at that point of time. It's called asynchronous transfer mode. And I don't think any of you might have heard today about it because, okay, there's some person there. So it was a kind of 1995, it was kind of, IBM had a dream that every desktop in the world would have these ATM cards, and we were the one who were designing these cards. And I was very proud of my work, saying, hey, this is something going to be in every computer in the world eventually one day. But of course, it failed. I mean, nobody knows about this technology. Maybe it's in the backbones today. So we got exposure to work with international customers or international people at that time. And then one friend who moved to California, he got a job by this company called Trillium Digital Systems. And I'm going to come to that story, how this company, actually Trillium Digital System, was formed. So he moved there, and he told me, hey, what you're making, you can make 3 times more just doing the same job. I said, that doesn't seem to be no-brainer, you know. And I said, how is the food? He said, you can eat the food there, no problem. They have plenty of Indian restaurants out there. So I said, okay, that sounds like a good bargain. And I said, I can apply. So he took my CV, and he gave it to the company. That time, I think the Trillium Digital System was about 30 people or 28 people, company based in California, Los Angeles. So they took my interview, and everything happened so suddenly. I was kind of maybe not even mentally prepared. They called me for an interview. They gave me some exercise on the phone, and they did some tests. And then after 3 weeks, they said, you are in. I said, what does it mean? We said, OK, you have a visa application being processed, and in 2-3 weeks, you will have your visa. And 1 month, you're flying. Then I told my parents, this has happened. And they're saying, what is it, actually? That means you're leaving? I was like, OK. So my mom started to cry. So really, it was the hardest part for them, actually, because no member of our family has ever left India before. So it was a big shock for them that their child or anybody in the family, not just for my immediate parents, but also for the relatives, they're saying, are you going to leave us now? Are you not going to come back? So all kinds of fears started to come in. Anyway, those emotional parts, of course, they are hard to manage. And I was also kind of thinking, hey, how is it going to work out? What's the word out there? But I said I was determined to see the word and experiment something different. I wanted to see what other people have seen and why I don't have a chance to see. And that's one key message I took for myself. I always want to experiment and see something different and do something different. So I took the opportunity took the ticket, went to LA with 1 bag and 1 suitcase, and my friend came and picked me up and started a completely new life and new career. And it was a great team. Few people I already knew because they were kind of part of my team based in Bangalore, and few people new. So we began a completely new lifestyle. A lot of cultural shock, believe me. I mean, a person coming from a middle-class family in India have never seen, we were not exposed to kind of Western world the way most people know in India. And even there are very, very good families who are very well exposed to the Western culture. So I went there, and the next day he said, hey, let's go to do this rollerblading. I said, what the hell is rollerblading? So he said, just come with me. I have a car. I'll take you. I said, you have a car? How can you afford a car? He said, in California, everybody needs a car, and you will buy one soon. Well, I knew what he meant after like 1 month already living there, that you can't live without a car in a place like California or especially Los Angeles, which is very geographically widespread. So, but at the end of the day, we were having fun. We were doing the same things. We were really experimenting with many things. And this company, I loved it because this company, when I was a 36th employee, I still remember. So it was a quite early stage. I had no idea what startup meant, actually. I haven't even heard the word startup because I was working for a company called Tata. I think it has maybe like a few 100,000 people working for it all over India. And they had like so many companies that nobody told me what this startup means, actually. But then I started to learn what the startup means. Having a team which you like, you work with, you have fun with, you can sort of relate to it. It's not a corporate big word where you don't have an identity. You can create your identity in a small word much easier and in a much fun way. And I think we did something good things that eventually Intel decided to buy our company. And that was a birthday party for the company. And it was a great pleasure, and we were kind of proud, but at the same time we were saying, hey, now we become one of the big companies. But during this 3.5 years I spent in California, I had learned a lot of things. I have seen the world. I have traveled also to Europe, to Singapore, to other countries in the world whenever I got a chance. So that gave me an opportunity to sort of horizon my thinking, to spread my thinking. But then what do we do next? Okay, we have the exit. We got some money. We got some experience. I said, so when I was already 25 years old, I was thinking, hey, why don't we start one company? And then I met one very nice gentleman. He invited to me one day to his sort of home. He said, you know, you're a very young boy, 22 years old. You can't start a company. Go get some experience first. And I listened. That's why I was working to get some experience. But then I thought, at this time I was, I think, 26 years old, something like that. And then I said, hey, now I get to try. I have the money and I have the experience. 4 years, great. So I decided to give it a try, came back to India, and me, a colleague of mine, we said, hey, what's next? We know how to build softwares. And let's start building the software. We got one customer, we got a project, a small project. We were very excited. We took a very big office. And we said, hey, we're going to make it a 50-people company next 6 months, and blah. There we go. It failed. We spent all the money we put together, and everything was running out so faster before we get more work going. We had this team of 5 or 6, or maybe I think 7 people working with us, and everybody's salary has to be paid, and no more projects coming. And that's where we learned the valuable lessons about customers. That you should really focus on, you should really focus on having a customer base before you want to expand too much. It's easy to spend €2 or $2, and it's very difficult to make 50 cents. You try to go out and ask somebody 50 cents, they will not give you. You try go out and give them $2, they might actually take it. So ask that question to yourself one day, whatever you do in your life. Again, going back to the family, I come from a very modest family, and we are very frugal because we were 4 kids, and only my father was working. So we were taught, hey, you always spend what you can earn. And that principle from my mother has always helped me to think how we should spend our money, how should be careful. And that's, I think, very much apply, and especially to startups, it applies very, very well. That before you can really spend a lot of money doing things you want to do, building the different kind of products, you should try to earn it, at least from 1 or 2 customers, to see how it's going. So those are very important lessons early on. We learned that, hey, not to kind of have a very big office, a nice secretary, and a nice chauffeur-driven car. We had all that nice things at very early age because we were enjoying it. So then, eventually I think because somehow that people, the area I was working in, then I was working in some area called voice or IP. So what you see Skype today, actually we kind of invented already in 2000. It's just that we were not smart enough to market it very well. So I was working in that technology already in 2000, and then one company from Chicago called me saying, hey, we are building this stuff, and it looks like you might want to talk to us, and we are looking for somebody who can manage the entire technology platform for us. And I said, well, I have some idea, and I have been building this conference server in Hyderabad in my previous company. I said, I think I can do this, and I love this technology, so I'll go and talk to you guys. So I flew to Chicago, met the guys, and they offered me a position to join the management team. I was like, what is this like? But by the time I had learned something, and then I think it helped me to negotiate very well also with them, that what kind of salary, what kind of package, what kind of options structure, because of my previous experience in startup. So I was able to, and also create a very good sort of team around me that's saying, hey, we will do this, that's what we need to do, let's focus, let's get the funding. So together, I think the team, we raised $3 million in the first round, and in the second round, I think we raised $1.25 million. So in the next 3 and 4 years where I worked, this was a great, very, very good startup experience I had. Fantastic team. I'm still in touch with those people. And one thing which I learned from those, that some of those people, actually, one of the founding members was from this school of management called Kellogg School of Management. And some people know probably what this Kellogg's means here. Because whenever I talk about this Kellogg School of Management, my kids say the Kellogg is the cereal, So anyway, so the guy was from there, and I was quite impressed with him in the sense, the way he could talk business things. So whenever I went to meet with the customer, he was my CTO, or sort of the co-founder of the company. He talked about this term sheet and EBITDA and all kinds of stuff, and I was like, what is this? So I was like, coming from a very purely technical background, listening some new vocabulary in the field, saying, hey, what did these terms mean? I started to ask him questions. He said, oh, these are the standard thing, and that's what you do. And he became a good friend, and he started to teach me all these things. And I got more and more interesting. At the same time, coming from technology, I was pulled more into customer-facing situations. So we were talking with the second largest telecom company in the US to use our platform as a voice or IP platform to give to all their subscribers, and these kind of things. And talking to a Singapore company, and talking to a company from I think it's Fiji, and God knows, from India, and from wherever. So suddenly it kind of opened up a completely different world for me, being in that position, learning from international customers. So that's where I got my first international customer exposure, talking to different kinds of companies in telecom, and trying to tell them that how our platform works. My role was still quite technical, to understand how our platform would work with their platform and add a value. And that has been actually a very good learning for me, because that's, at Hakema, what we do today is quite related, and I'm going to come back to it. I have no idea about the time, but please tell me if it's getting too long. So, as I said, I was quite interested in learning the new vocabulary, and then I was working there for 4 years. That company was a bit on slow trajectory path, and then I made a deal with them, say, hey, why don't I take some break from you guys and do my MBA? And the choice of MBA, I was thinking, we can do in the US, and we can do. Then I thought, let's take another new experience. And that's probably another nature that, hey, let's try something different. I decided to apply in Europe. I said, okay, let's see how the world on the other side is, because I was already talking to some companies in Norway sometimes, some companies in UK, and then thought, okay, doing it from Europe could be great. And I ended up doing my MBA from Rotterdam School of Management. And it was a lot of hard work, but at the same time, we had a lot of fun. I met great people from 54 countries, from Peru all the way Canada, and in between everything. So that itself also opened the world for me even further than what I was sort of exposed so far. So MBA is an expensive exercise you have to do once, then you have a big loan, and then you go back to the corporate world to take the money and give back to the MBA tuition. So everybody has to, one way or another, take care of this. And during this journey, I was lucky enough to meet my wife, who happened to be from Finland, and that's why I'm here today. She's somewhere in the crowd there. So I met her already when I was finishing my MBA. Then I had a job in London, so I moved to London for a while, and then I already knew that I'm going to end up in Finland and be here. And it was very nice, actually, and there are many good things about Finland I have really, really learned, including sauna. So I came to Finland. I was lucky to work with another company, a small company, and they said, hey, we are looking to expand internationally. Can you help? And it was good, and I was doing what I was doing for a big company in London, the same way, expanding them to different markets. But then I realized it was becoming like a paid slavery in a sense. And if it's not something you're kind of absolutely passionate about every day in the morning when you get up, then you feel bored after a while. Doesn't matter if you eat the best food every day, you get bored until it's changing, or it's something you like. So I only need is a kick in the butt, that in a sense, hey, I need to see myself doing something, experiment something differently. And there was a change in the company's management. And that time I said, hey, it's a perfect time for me to now depart. And I decided to take the next step in my life, saying, hey, it's been enough working for many companies. I have seen some part of the world. I know how things I can do. Let me give it a try with myself. So I just, beginning 2011, I said, hey, let's put it together. I had no real concrete ideas fully developed or something. We didn't even have a full team. And I just said, okay, let's go and talk and find out. We'll see the people who can, maybe are eager to join, willing to join, co-minded, whatever. But let's try. Without trying, never know. So actually, because I had already failed in my life, I knew at the most I can do is fail again. And there's nothing to be afraid of. Because if you fail after 6 months or 1 year or 2 years, I'm sure you learn more things in that failure compared to the success you had in your life. So that's something I was willing to give it another try. And that's where Hakema was born, actually. So, and the word Hakema, actually, I have to thank again my wife, that it's a small story, but we were struggling with the name, and she spent half a night or late in the evening, quite a bit of time, and say, why not use this word Hakema? It's actually, Hakea is the Finnish verb, and we kind of liked the name, and we applied for it, and we got it. And when I tested with my friends in different countries, and they say, oh, is it Japanese, or is it something else? But most of the important thing is everybody could pronounce it mostly correctly. And that's why we said, okay, this sounds something, we would take the name. So somebody asked me a question last week that should startups spend some time thinking about the brand image and the brand name? And any of you, if you are in the process of doing that, I would highly encourage that spend some time, spend some money also to build a proper brand name. I think we haven't done a good job ourselves yet. But we know that it's important that you have a good name, especially if you want to be an international company. That you don't have a name which only is applicable to Finland, unless you want to be only a Finnish company. Because it's very difficult to change the name. You can do it, and many, many companies have done in the world. However, it takes a lot of energy, a lot of work, and a lot of emotions to change the name also. So try to get it right if you can in the first go. So a little bit about how Hakema started. So we had many ideas. So one thing we want to do is first talk to the people who would buy the idea. So we found a prospect, and we sold the idea. And this guy said, okay, he will buy from us. We even built a business model. Everything was done. Then we started to build the product. So that's one thing we try to do, is not to build everything upfront, everything. A little bit maybe. We built a prototype, and we showed it to him. One thing we forgot, we didn't talk to the IT guys before. And we didn't talk to a couple of other people. That's another thing. We were hit by a wall almost when we realized it's a huge amount of work to integrate with them. It's very complicated. A lot of regulatory issues need to be solved. So that means we haven't thought through everything. So it was basically a simple booking system for healthcare, but it has many important things which none of the booking systems in Finland was providing. So we were hit by that wall, and we were thinking, hey, now what do we do? The time is ticking. We don't have all the free time and everything to do. So we start to experiment. The famous word nowadays is called pivoting. So we started to think about, hey, what else could be done? Where people really need this kind of services? And because we have the technology now, we already had a prototype, so we could show it to people and get some feedback. So we happened to meet Sanoma, actually, somewhere in the May timeframe. And by the time we already had developed the idea, hey, can it be applied as a plug-in to many areas? And we showed them our idea, which was kind of still in the development phase, early development phase. And they liked the idea. And that's where our journey with them started, with a meeting there. But then famous Finnish summer came. Everything kind of stopped happening for a second. And then we had a choice whether to take this idea full speed forward or continue to work on this healthcare thing. And then it was a hard decision. But we believed in it. We said, okay, what we are doing, it's so scalable and it can work for everywhere in the world. Let's go with that compared to a narrow-minded product which only works for certain things, requires a lot of complex integrations, and at the end of the day, we get only certain kind of money from certain kind of customers. That definitely would be a good product also to get 100,000 euros from 10 customers, but what if you get 100,000 euros from only one customer? So we thought about the scalability issue then. So we were able to to sit down, and the whole thing was designed over a cup of tea in our balcony, actually. So we were sitting, and we presented, and that's it. So sometimes don't neglect the ideas which could be breeding in your mind. Just write it down and go back to it and present it to people. You never know, something could catch somebody's attention, and that could change the way you're thinking, because sometimes you may not be the best judge of your own ideas. I think that's what at least I have learned. So we finally did it, and I think in last 6 to 7 months, I must thank the whole team who has now been able to put together, been able to build the product, launch the product, build the team, build the international attention we are getting now. We are working with them, and so on and so forth. And I encourage you to check our website to see the product. I was not prepared to do any demo here or something. Or if you want, please contact me or any member of our team, Ville, myself, Pai, Vihannu, or Tuomas, and Teemu. So we are about 6 people today. So what we do is, I thought I will summarize actually, missing appointment button for online classified. The reason I say missing is because most people, when you go to see an ad online, you have an email address or you have a phone number, and that's all. Either you need to call or email. I mean, we all know how many emails we get and how many replies we get, and sometimes it may work very well. Phone calling is also good, but it has its limitation of time frame between 9 to 5. Also, when you call, you don't know if the other person will pick the call. You don't know if the other person will reply back. So we know this is a little bit a challenging area. We thought our solution would fit very well. And we just put a button, and I'll show you. It's a bit hidden under, but when you press a button, it's live on Oikotie on some of the listing. It's just launched about 3 weeks back. Then you see a small calendar there, which the seller or an agent has opened, where you can say, hey, I would like to show you this place between so-and-so time on Perjantaina, Lauantaina, ja Sunnuntaina. So few of the different days, and then you can just put your phone number, email, and you book it. And the service keeps in touch with you also by sending an alert in case this property is sold before. Let's say if you have a meeting on next Monday, and if this place is sold on Friday, it sends you an alert. Don't need to go, or if you are going to an open house on Sunday, and the place is sold on Friday, you get an alert saying don't need to go there. So that way you can save a lot of trouble. It sends you reminders. Also, for example, if the price of the place is reduced, then it also sends you information saying, hey, this price is reduced now. So if you may sort of want to go back and see it again, or you want to sort of call the seller saying, hey, I'm interested to make an offer. These are among some of the things which we are doing. And so I encourage you to check the service a little bit on our website, or ask us. For the, okay, the color is not the guide, but I'll try to summarize. So for sellers, it's a self-service tool, a simple tool. You click a button, and you can paint the times which you want to show. You can also, you also get SMS notification about somebody books an appointment. So you don't have to tie it to a smartphone or a mobile to see, you just get an SMS. And you can also analyze, so there are some small analytical engine we have included. So you can see how many people are viewing this page, how many people are clicking the button, how many people are booking. So if I simplify it, like what salespeople call it, you can see your sales funnel and sales conversion rates. And not to overburden with people, but a simple way they can see how many people are interested in my place. So this tool is live, and we are hoping that over the time people will start to use this tool, and you can tell your friends if you're looking for your next apartment or things like that. If the service is available for that listing, please try it and give us feedback. So you can carry it with you, and we are going to bring more like mobile application and things in this area. We are working on now. So what are the lessons learned actually? I would like to kind of summarize, that things, we are still learning, and we haven't got everything all right yet. And there are many, many lessons learned in last about 1 year since kind of sat on this journey. That right team is actually far, far more important. So when we got this team together and got the ideas together flowing correctly, and the synergy between the team and everybody started to take sort of their area, because even if you are super good, you can't do everything. So you need people to help you in different areas. And it's not necessary that you do the best. Everybody should figure out what they are best in and focus on that only. And that is very important to figure out early on. I think we are still in the process. one thing we try to do is not to kind of do everything with day one. So we have already a pipeline of features and products which we want to launch, but we want it to launch as soon as we can. And that's where some challenge you might hit, like in our customer, because if the customer is a bit bigger customer, they have their own sort of launch plans and things like that. So you need to align yourself with them. And that's something you need to keep in mind if you are working for especially very big companies, that you need to sort of breathe with them and live with them in that sense. This is my favorite, the third one. First customer is infinite % gain. When you have an idea, it has a lot of value in your head, but no value in the market. When you have built a product, it has some more value because you have built it. But if you have no customer, it's still no value because nobody has paid or using it. But when you really get your first customer who is willing to pay some money to use the service, then you are in business. Before that, you're dreaming. So getting the first customer is one of the most important steps all of you who are dreaming of starting your own company should think about. And of course, it doesn't stop there. You know, first customer and the second customer and third customer, and then when you have a bunch of them, then you learn faster and execute things. But getting the first customer right is the most important thing for most startups. Or if you're a product company, getting your first product right is the most important product for. So one thing which we try to focus, and we are still in the debating and thing, you know, we had some discussions about getting investments, but as a team, we decided not to work for high salaries, but work for ourselves. And we said, let's see how if we can survive. So we went on to the last mile of not to take the investment from outside, even if we had some small offers, early angel offers. We say, hey, we know we can launch this without much help from the market. We know how to figure out a smart way to sort of get the best resources from worldwide, you know, because the world is opening up. The crowdsourcing is the in thing. So we know that, and we are able to pull sources. Like we have the best design company from Estonia actually designing our software, the graphical part. We don't have to work with the most expensive people. I mean, they are really, really good, and they are doing in a similar way. We are able to pull the resources from other parts of the world. So that's something we learned because we had less cash. Because if I had plenty of cash, maybe we would hire the best Finnish company and they will do it. But then we will not be that inventive. One thing which we also learned is like importance of speaking and listening. That means I went to speak out to people about this idea, get the feedback early on, try to tell them, hey, we are going to do this, not hide your idea. I know, and I think William Wordsworth was saying about things, that there are many people who like to hide their idea. It is the most secretive idea. 99% what you have thought has almost been thought over 10 times in the world, at least the same idea. So if you look at the Facebook and the Googles of the world, they were not the first one actually, though they are the most successful one today. So be always ready to talk to people about, hey, no, do you see any problems in that and so forth. And take the feedback. And take the feedback with a pride, not with this like grunt, like, hey, you don't understand. If they don't understand, then you are not good enough to explain. So with that, I would not take much of your time, and I would say, hey, I'm willing to take more feedback about it. We just started our journey, and we have plenty to learn. And if you have any feedback, please check our webpage or go to our Facebook page, whatever form, just grab me or send me an email. And I'm always welcome to have a cup of coffee with anybody, any of you, and take your feedback. And with that, I thank you very much for this wonderful attention you have given me today. I'm very honored to be presenting, first time in my life really, to a big crowd like this, especially in Finland, which is now my home country. Kiitos.
Thank you very much, Ajay, and it was really nice story. We made a journey in your life and in this business. So very, very much thank you for your presentation. And now we have some questions. Let's change the places, so because the microphone is somewhere there.
Okay.
And now questions, please. Would you please use again this? Thank you very much.
Yes, hello.
Yeah.
Who is your paying customer? I understand the value proposition for the end user, but who is actually the one who pays you money?
I mean, we don't go to B2C approach. I mean, we are not collecting the money from the sellers. So let's say if you are selling your apartment or car, you go and list your car on that site. And our service comes as a part of the package with that. So we get paid by the classified companies to adding this feature, if you want to call it that way, to their portfolio. And whatever price we agree, that has nothing to do with what they would charge their customer. They might be able to offer it completely free, just to improve their competitiveness in the market, or they improve the customer convenience. But we charge a very small fee because we kind of try to work with the big channel partners. Does that answer your question?
And more, please. Very interesting company and very interesting service. By the way, how many of you have used real estate agents' services? How many of you? Have you been satisfied with it? More or less, yeah. Was it easy to get them on the phone, or agreed, or get the meeting times and things like that? Was it easy to? Because my guess is that our experience is not very supporting this idea that it is easy to be in contact with those very busy people. But now it is one solution for this big challenge which in this business they have. But more question, please.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Hello, AJ. Thanks for your presentation. It was very heartfelt.
Thank you.
You talk about new experiences a lot, which broaden your view and constant learning. I'd like to ask you about unlearning. How do you feel about that?
I think you can call unlearning as also learning.
Yeah. True.
So in that sense, I mean, all of us have some habits, and some are hard to leave or give up. So I think if you're able to figure out what the habits you can give up or unlearn, that's important. So, I mean, in that sense, unlearning is a part of the learning. Things, if you're able to realize, I think the difficult part is to figure out what to unlearn.
Exactly.
And then unlearning it. So I think mostly you should ask your friends, and most of them don't tell you sometimes. Or sometimes only the life experiences will tell you what to unlearn and what to give up and go do something else. But that's a good question, actually.
Thank you. Yeah, because that was a good point about not always knowing which are your best ideas yourself, and some of them really suck. So
yeah, they do.
Ask your friends.
Yeah, and we are kind of, I must say that we are still like in the beginning of the journey, and we don't know exactly how it will span. We are sort of trying still, and maybe not. It doesn't work exactly the way we are imagining today. We are already experimenting with new ideas in this space and how we can help. So don't be surprised if after 6 months or 1 year we might be doing something a little bit different or something different, because we believe in trying out and see what problems we can solve for which somebody would be willing to pay something.
More? Please, if you have something. I have one question, because I know something about his story with Hakema and with their first customers. And would you please describe a little bit what kind of process it is to get customer so big player as you got this Sanoma VSO, which is the biggest news media company in the whole Scandinavia. So what are the challenges for young, small firm?
Very good question, and I think there are many challenges at the same time, opportunities. One thing which I can say that, you have to be at your best, in the sense like you have to believe in yourself, and when you present something, it doesn't matter to a small company or a big company, at the end of the day you're dealing with few people who will make this decision. So my experience says that just forget about the size of the company. If you know that you're providing some value and you know that you can do it, so be honest to yourself and just say, hey, we will be able to do this exactly this way, and it may not go exactly like that, but just be honest and speak about it, saying, hey, we are delayed by 3 weeks or we are delayed by 4 months. So tell up front and keep them informed so that they can trust you. I think that's the most important. So creating that trust with any kind of customer, be small or big, is very, very important, I think. And that's where you can have a small customer, big customer. There are many web services, there's no really trust required. You just go and sign up and use it. So maybe it's different for them. But still, I think customer loyalty, as I think William was talking about, also a little bit I heard, or it's actually very, very important. It's, I think, I mean, there are many mathematical formulas, and he was talking the numbers and matrix, and you can do that. But it's as simple as that in my mind, that to get one customer, you have to, whatever work you did will be 3 times harder to get the next customer. So you should think about that, that, hey, can you really make sure that this customer, for whatever reason he's a customer, is happy with your service or product, whatever you're doing. Unless you know that this is a completely wrong product for this person, then you can't solve. So keeping that, I think, is quite important.
So your message is that also we, as starting companies, our first customer can be so-called world-class firm. So it is no...
Yeah, actually, the world-class firms are, in fact, they are much more in need of small companies. In fact, if you can look around, and Nokia is a great example. And I'm not saying because Nokia is in a bad shape today, just because when you start to get bigger, you start to become slower. And that's with the human being, like if you start to expand, if I start to become, and the same with the companies. So it's the same, they start to get more bogged down by the processes, how things work, and like how the things are managed rather than things are done. So they focus more on the process. So, and it's very necessary for them, because if you have 50, 70,000 people company, you must have a process so that people are not going to the HR director every day saying, hey, how is it done? There has to be some process, and you know the process. So, but they spend a lot of time in the processes. So that's where the small companies come in, do something very quick and get in. Where they might think, because some of the companies we are talking today, one of the ladies said to me, she is the country manager of that portal, I don't want to name right now, but she said they have been thinking about it for 18 months, but they are kind of bogged down by their daily operational challenges to make sure that their core business is successful. So that's where I think small companies can bring in small ideas and try to sort of add value to them, to the bigger companies. So I don't think you should be afraid of talking to anybody and forget about big or small. If you have a good idea, if you know you can deliver a good product, just go out and talk to anybody.
Thank you. And do you have any questions still? I have one question. You said that you are from India, and if we compare to Finland to India, we can add at least 2 zeros in every single figures which we have here in Finland, maybe more zeros. And what is your plan for your future? You have started your business here in Finland, in small Finland. Do you have any plans to move back at your home and start a bigger business there?
Well, I said my home is here now. My family is from Finland, so I don't have any such plans. However, I feel a gratitude, or I feel responsibility to do something for the country where I grew up as my personal responsibility, because one thing is about education. The kind of education I got and in Finland it's quite free because it's paid by the taxes. And in India it was quite subsidized. Like I paid maybe 10 euros for the whole 1 year fees. And that's ridiculous compared to the money people are spending in doing to private colleges and things like that. So I feel a lot of responsibility toward the country, which helped me to be what I am today, to do something for it, especially in the area of education, because I personally believe education is the best tool for everybody. And education doesn't mean only going to schools, but education of any kind, bringing lots of projects and experiences. So hopefully if we are in a position one day, we would like to launch some projects in India where we can do something a bit more charity, or charity not in terms of giving money, but real work for the people to improve their quality of life. Thank you.
Really nice thoughts. And now, you said on one of your slides that you have developed this idea in the balcony with a cup of tea. Here is a cup of tea with your next big ideas. Thank you very much, Ajay, to be here. Thank you very much.
Kiitos.